Welcome to Hollow Knight Speedrunning, where we get to do the craziest tricks to skip required abilities, fight the hardest bosses in record times, and generally play the game super well. So, if you want to learn how to do this, or how to do this, or even how to do, not this one, this isn't in the run. Anyway, settle in, because today I'm going to teach you one of the best beginner categories there is, where we get to say hi to everyone's favorite miner. It's Myla %. Hello and welcome everybody, I am Cthulhu, I am a Hollow Knight speedrunner, and I am here today to bring you a tutorial for one of the best categories to get started with Hollow Knight running that there is. It is Myla %. Now, Myla % is a category extension of Hollow Knight, so it's not on the main speedrun boards, but what this category does is it teaches you a lot of the early tips and tricks you're gonna need to get into all sorts of other categories in Hollow Knight, and it does it in a run that's only about 20 minutes long optimally. So, this is a great run to get started. There's nothing too terribly difficult in it, and it will really make a great foundation for your Hollow Knight speedrunning career if you decide to keep doing it. Now, let me be clear here. We are going to be teaching you today a very specific subcategory of Myla %. It is current patch, no major glitches. Now, the reason that we've decided to go with the NMG category is it's by far the most popular category in Hollow Knight, and we've stuck with current patch because, well, it's the best because it means that you won't need to down patch your game to jump right into this run. Now, you'll notice that I am playing on patch 1.5.78.11833. This is the current patch as of the time of recording this video. If you're watching this video in the future, that may no longer be the current patch, but hopefully most of the tricks that I explain here will still be possible. For the purposes of recording this video, I'm also playing on a modded version of this game. You'll notice that there is a lovely little spaghetti icon right here next to the other 4 icons that normally appear in the vanilla game. And if you look in the top left corner there, you can see the version numbers of the mods that I'm running. If you are going to record a valid speedrun, you need to be playing on the vanilla game. You can't be playing on a modded installation. Even just having the modding API installed will invalidate your run. The reason that we're doing it for this tutorial is so that I can more clearly showcase some skips and tricks in a way that'll allow me to easily reset. I'll have links in the description below if you want to check out these mods. I highly recommend them if you are starting to really learn a category, but they're by no means necessary to get jumping right in. Now, as I said before, this is going to be a tutorial aimed at beginners. That means I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over the optimal movement in every single room in this run, but I will spend some time to describe basic strategies. I'll give some backup strategies if those strategies fail, and I'll give in-depth tutorials on how to do every trick required in the run. In addition to this, I plan to provide an alternate beginner's route that adds in one additional safety. It won't lose too much time if you're running the category for the first time, and it will really make it a lot more consistent for you. For your viewing pleasure, I have added over on the other side of the screen from me an input display. You can watch there when I press buttons on my controller here. The input display signifies what I am pressing. And if we focus the game here, you can see I press the D-pad, we move the menu. If I press A, it brings up this menu. This input display is going to be very useful when you're looking at me performing tricks. You can slow the video down, you can look at my input display to see exactly which buttons I'm pressing and when, and this will hopefully help you in your learning process. Now, the way that this tutorial is going to be organized is I'm going to split this into several segments which are roughly coinciding with the splits in this run. For more information on those splits and where to find them and how to set up Livesplit, check the description below. We're not going to go over that in this video, but there are a lot of resources out there to help you out. And as always, if you do have questions about speedrunning, feel free to join either my Discord or the Hollow Knight Speedrunning Discord and ask questions. There are plenty of friendly people all around. Links are in the description below. Alright, now before we actually get into the run, I want to show one of the easiest time saves you'll ever have, especially in Myla percent where we really don't need to read anything. I highly recommend you come into the game options here, select the first thing here, game, and change the language of the game away from English. Now, English is among the slowest languages to play Hollow Knight in. The reason is that there's more text and it actually scrolls slower than other languages. The fastest language to play in is Chinese. To get there, you can press left twice from English here, so you can click this, and this brings us to Chinese. You back out here, and you'll be back at the main menu. So of course you'll need to be able to read the main menu at least a little bit. The first option is start game, the last is exit. But this is very easy to get the hang of, and setting your language to Chinese will save you time in all the dialogue that occurs in this run. Now let's talk a little bit more about the run we're doing. We're running Myla percent today. The goal of this category is, unfortunately, to kill Myla as quickly as possible. Essentially what this means is we are going to be rushing the Crystal Dash ability as quickly as we can get it, and functionally what this does is it requires us to do all of the movement done in any percent up to the C-Dash ability. However, unlike any percent, this route skips basically every single boss fight. We have only one fight that we really need to do, and that's Hornet in the early game. So it gives you a lot of good practice for early game and a lot of practice with movement in the middle splits. It's a great introduction to Hollow Knight running, and I highly recommend it if you are looking to get into speedrunning this game, or you just are interested in seeing how quickly you can kill Myla. Alright, now before we get started with the run here, I want to show you a few general tricks that are going to apply throughout the run. So I'm going to load into a file that I have here, and we're going to use debug mod to give ourselves some abilities. Now, again, you can't have debug mod on when you're actually doing runs, but for practice, this is wonderful. So if you want to practice fireball skips, for example, it would be great to give yourself a fireball here. Give yourself infinite soul. Infinite HP is also very useful for practicing skips where you can get damaged. And I think that's all we'll give us for now. I want to show you a few things. The first and probably most important thing that you can learn about Hollow Knight speedrunning is that there is a quick cast button in this game. On a controller, the default bind would be your right bumper, and if you look at my input display, you can see it. So we have infinite soul here, so we can just spam fireballs. You'll notice that when I'm using the quick cast button, as soon as I press the button, the fireball comes out. This allows us to chain fireballs without losing much height. This ends up being very important for a number of skips. If you use the regular focus button, which is B by default on a controller, you'll notice that it's not until I release the button that the fireball comes out. What this means is that if I try to chain fireballs, I lose a lot of height. You don't want to use the focus button to cast spells in basically any scenario. You want to use the quick cast button, which is the right bumper on your controller, because it allows you to cast spells more quickly, and crucially when you're doing fireball skips, it helps you not lose height. This will come up several times throughout the run, so I wanted to call it out now. One other thing, of course, if you are a keyboard player, that is perfectly fine. Both controller and keyboard are perfectly valid methods of input for Hollow Knight. I do use a controller, and I in fact use the analog stick on the controller, but you are free to use the D-pad, free to use keyboard if that is comfortable for you. It makes almost no difference optimally, so use whatever you like. Continuing with the basics here, there's a few additional pieces of advice that I'll have for you when you start running. So when you are slashing your nail, if you played this game casually and you're like me, you probably just mash the button as quickly as you can. If you're a very good masher, this might work for you. But if you're like me, who's a very bad masher, this is actually terrible and you'll lose a lot of time between slashes. What you're going to want to do is learn how to time your nail slashes exactly when they come off cooldown. You'll really start to get a feel for it. I just recommend practicing it. Try to time your slashes so you're pressing exactly one button press per slash. So this goes for dashing as well. If you want to dash, you don't want to just mash the dash button, because you could end up with a few extra steps between dashes. Also, you'll just get tired. So I definitely recommend timing your dash presses as well to learn exactly when the dash is off cooldown. You'll just get a feel for it over time. It's just something that I recommend. It'll help you as you continue on in your Hollow Knight speedrunning career. So I have a couple more pieces of movement tech that I want to describe. The first is a very simple thing, and we call it pre-jumps usually. So this is a very basic piece of movement tech, but when you're about to just fall off a ledge, as you're walking up, you can hop so that you reach the bottom of the ledge a little bit faster. It just helps you get that extra fall speed. And walking and jumping are the exact same speed, so you don't lose anything by jumping around. All right, and finally, the last thing that I want to describe here is the current patch inventory drop. So this is a thing that you really don't have to worry about, but you'll see it done in a lot of top runs. This is a physics frame perfect trick. So the trick is you have to, right on the frame you walk off a ledge, open the inventory, which is the select button on your controller by default. All right, let's see if we can get it. Okay. So that's the trick. Basically what it does is it allows you to fall very quickly from high up and also avoid the hard fall that you get at the end here. You can try them on basically any drop. If you're a little bit early, you'll lose some time because you'll stop instead of walking off the edge. And if you're a little bit late, nothing really matters. You'll just fall like you would have anyway. But yeah, feel free to try them if you want to. They are very rarely actually optimal, but you'll see them used in a lot of top runs because they're a fun thing to go for. Now, let me talk a little bit about the run itself. So, this run is broken up into several pieces. There will be chapters in the description below, so you can hop to various sections if you're struggling with a particular piece, but I will be going over each of them in a continuous fashion once we get started here. Now, the run itself is a pretty short run, and there are a few major milestones that we're going to be looking for. The first is picking up the Fireball ability, Vengeful Spirit. The second is picking up the Dash ability. The third is the Mantis Claw ability. The fourth section is going to be getting enough money to get into Crystal Peak, and the fifth is getting Crystal Dash. That is essentially the entire run, so that is how the description will break down the video below. So if you want to see specific parts, feel free to jump to that. Now, the reason that this run takes the route it does is we're trying to get Crystal Dash as quickly as possible. That means we have to get basically enough movement to get Crystal Dash in Crystal Peak, and we need some way into Crystal Peak. That way will be the Lumafly Lantern, so a lot of the run is about collecting enough Geo to afford Lumafly Lantern to get into Crystal Peak. So keep that in mind as we're going through the run. Most of the early game is going to be collecting movement, and most of the late game is going to be collecting Geo, and then finally the Crystal Dash ability. So just have that context in mind as we're going through the run. All right, and with that, we are ready to start the actual run. So you'll want to come in here. I recommend starting your save files in the top slot here. It makes quitouts very easy. With the modding API, the cursor will mess things up, but if you're on the vanilla game, putting your run in the top slot is the best place to put it. All right, so we come in here, we select the regular option. You cannot do this run in Steel Soul. We do take an intentional death during this run, so you'll need to play in regular mode. But if you're a beginner speedrunner, you're going to want to do that anyway. All right, now the first room I'm not going to spend too much time describing here. It is King's Pass. There are a couple of tricks, but I don't recommend you spend a whole lot of time trying to learn all of them. I'll describe them very quickly here, but you're going to get more practice than you want in King's Pass, even if you never sit down to practice it. As we walk up to these doors, you just want to slash through them. I tend to up slash. You can side slash as well. I don't believe they give knockback. We can test that. Yep, they don't. But I tend to up slash them. Very simple. Here you just want to do normal platforming. Here you can just hop up like this, or you can do a pogo. Either one is fine. They take about the same amount of time. If you want to practice your pogos, you can do that. All right, so coming up here is the first real skip of King's Pass. You'll see that Vengefly over on the left. We're going to be pogoing him to skip up to this middle platform that you see. So I'm going to come over here and make a save state. All right, so let's go and try this. So when the Vengefly is far away, you need to jump over here to lure it, and then do exactly that. You jump back up, jump over, and pogo. So let's show that again. We aggro it, jump over here, and pogo. Now, I want to mention that Vengeflies are frame rate dependent, so you'll see up in the top right corner that I'm running at about 300 FPS. If you're running at lower FPS, the Vengeflies will move slower for you, so you're going to have to learn this timing yourself, but the idea is the same. So it's far away, aggro it, come over, and pogo just like that. Sometimes this Vengefly will spawn far enough to the right that you don't actually need to go and aggro it. This is relatively unlikely on current patch, but if that happens, you can just jump and pogo, and that's fine. So you basically start in that position. So once we get up to this platform, you don't need to go and jump over to the right here. You can actually just jump right up there, but feel free to go to the right if you want. Here we're just following King's Pass the way that you would. And here's really the second trick of King's Pass. There are two ways to do this. This is called the soft fall. We'll set another save state here so I can show it. The first is to hope for RNG. If you just walk, you sometimes won't get the hard fall that you saw me just get. So we're trying to avoid... Oh, the save state's a little bit borked there, it seems. Because of this. Okay, let's set the save state here. All right, so sometimes you'll get that hard fall. What we're trying to avoid is having to stop. So you see there, it was completely RNG. We didn't get hit. Now, I'll show you a setup that loses a little bit of time but gets you a consistent soft fall. You hop right when the platform's breaking, and you stop moving to the right so that you land on this upper platform. Optimally, you want to end right on this edge here, but you can land anywhere here and not lose too much time. That'll always give you a soft fall if you time it correctly, but it's a little bit difficult to time correctly. So you want to wait until it's about to break and hop and stop moving to the right. That lets you fall on this platform and not get the hard fall. This saves time over getting the RNG hard fall, but it loses time to the RNG soft fall. So take your pick. It doesn't matter too much. The differences are only quarters of a second. It's not a huge deal. You want to continue through the rest of King's Pass, break that. You can learn how to break it a little bit more optimally as you continue. And then you come up on the KP door. Now, this door is a great place to practice your nail slash timing. So I mentioned before, you don't want to mash your nail unless you're a very good masher or you just love mashing. You want to time your nail slashes, and the KP door is a great place to do that because there's no stakes. You just want to hit it 13 times. Now we're through King's Pass. We're coming up on Dirtmouth. The beginning parts of this run are all very straightforward. We're just walking to the right. Once you reach this foreground pillar here, you want to start doing full jumps. The reason for that is while you're in the air, you don't get the slow walk effect that you get over here. So once you hit this, just start jumping. Every time you hit the ground, just jump. Again, this is great timing for when to jump. You really can, in just these first couple of rooms, get some good practice on just timing your inputs if you're trying to do it as well as you can. We don't talk to Elderbug because that's time loss. And we come down the well. Now you want to go left when you enter the well. We are going to the Vengeful Spirit ability as quickly as we can. If this is your first time speedrunning, you're going to want to spend a little bit of time on this split, but you'll kind of get that practice in anyway just by doing runs. So I don't recommend dedicated practice. Just make sure you know where you're going and how to do it. So you want to just walk to the left, head over here, and go into this room. The Gruz drop room is a room that can be a bit of a pain. These Gruzzers spawn completely randomly and also move in a random direction, so it's very painful to have to go through this room because you don't know where they will be. There's a couple of different strategies. The most optimal thing you can do is to drop onto this platform and then walk off it with an inventory drop. So let's see if we can get that here. Exactly like that. And if you're lucky, you won't get hit. Now, we'll try this a couple more times. You see, if I fail it here, then you can fall down, and sometimes you'll get hit by Gruzzers. Because I took too long in the top of the room, we got hit by Tick-Ticks. If you aren't going to be doing the inventory drop, then the best thing that you can do is jump here and just fall down the middle. Now, you'll see you can get hit by these Gruzzers more often than not. So when you just jump down the middle, you're going to get a hard fall at the bottom if you don't stop yourself like this. So that's why we put a little pogo in at the very end. Right as you're about to hit this, do a pogo and you'll avoid that hard fall. So let me show that one more time. We drop down here. You can see the Gruzzers aren't behaving, and that's standard. You pogo these, you don't get the hard fall. So that's this room. You can try to go through here a bit, but again, it's really just a matter of whether you get hit by the Gruzzers. Go for the inventory drop if you want. It doesn't save that much time. We're talking about a second or two. It's not a big deal. All right, so in this room, we're simply going to be going to the right. You can, again, employ these pre-hops to get slightly better angles on your drops, but this is just a matter of fractions of a second. You'll pick these things up as you continue. All right, so this room is the Aspid Arena, and this is the first place where we use a major trick in the run. Well, major, it only saves a few seconds, but I'll show you how it works. So when you walk into this arena, there's going to be 3 Aspids you're going to have to kill. The one that spawns in the middle to start, and then 2 more that spawn in after. Now, as it turns out, there's a spike in the ceiling that, when deflected at exactly the right angle, can kill those other 2 Aspids with a single nail slash. So that's what we're going to be trying to do. So when we walk in here, you want to kill this one as quickly as possible. The best way to do that is as soon as you walk in, you want to start pogoing this Aspid, and I'll show that in a second. If it gets away from you, no worries, just head up and kill it. Then you want to come to this platform, wait for them to spawn in, and hit the spike just like I did there. So let's try to show that a couple more times. So you walk in, you pogo this Aspid, you come to this platform. Once they spawn in, you jump and hit the spike. So you see there, it only killed one of the 2. That's fine. You just want to go and kill the other one the same way. Be sure not to take too much damage, but it's not too bad if you do. So we come in, we pogo this Aspid, and we come to this platform. Once they spawn in, we jump and we hit the spike. This is something that can happen if the second Aspid is spawning significantly slower than the first. Sometimes it won't get hit by the spike because it hasn't fully spawned in. That's okay. When that happens, you just go and kill the Aspid. Let's try to show that one more time. There you see they spawned at the same time, and it's fine. Once you've killed them, you just want to walk out of the room. You can get this geo if you want, but it's not necessary for the route. This next room is very cycle-based, so I'm going to show you a couple of the visual cues that I use. Let's run through it once to see how it looks. Alright, so that's how you're going to want to do that room. Let's show you again, and I'm going to point out exactly what I did there. So we jump over this, not a huge problem. Once you reach this white grass here, you want to do a jump. That'll land you on this platform, and you can just do a full jump here, just hold the A button. Once you get to this platform, you want to jump again immediately. That will bring you over this Goam. So let me show you how this works. Again, this is a very cycle-based room, so once you're off cycle, it's hard to explain what's happening. You jump over this Goam, just like that. Let's show that one more time. So once you... Here, let's get this Vengefly out of the way. Once you've landed here, you've jumped over this first Goam, the second Goam should be down for a little bit longer. That's where you can jump again as soon as you hit the ground and pogo at the top of your jump to make sure that you don't get hit by this Goam. You don't have to pogo. With perfect timing, you can clear it, but you want to be a little bit safe here. Now, I do want to say, when you're jumping from here, this is not a full jump that you want. You actually want slightly less than a full jump. So you jump from this with a full jump, and it puts you on this platform. Here, you just want to jump high enough to get over this first Goam. And you'll start to get a feel for the timing for it as you do this room a little bit more. That'll give you enough time to jump again before the second Goam appears. So let's show you one more time. This is probably the most complex room in the first split. So you see how that works there. That gets you over both the second and, in fact, also the third Goams and puts you right in front of this spike pit. Now, the spike pit is a thing that I'm going to want to show you a little bit more because the spike pit strategy will change depending on exactly where this Vengefly is. If this Vengefly is right in your way, then you're going to have to pogo it and come over here. But if it's high enough, like the first time I went through this room, you can actually either do a short hop or just walk off this platform and pogo the spikes. You really don't want to dunk in these spikes because if you do, it spawns you at the beginning of the room and you have to do the whole thing all over again. So you want to really try to make sure you clear that gap. If you need to wait for the Vengefly and then pogo it to get it out of your way, that's totally fine. Just make sure you have some kind of strategy. So you saw there it was very high up. We just went underneath it and pogoed the spikes. This room will take some practice. Don't worry if you don't get the cycle. You can always just go through it a little bit slowly, but I wanted to show you that cycle just so that you know what it is you're supposed to be doing. Now, I want to give one very important caveat for the room I just went through. These cycles are only PC-based cycles. If you are on a console like the Nintendo Switch and you're trying to do this room, the cycles will be different and the strategy that I showed you won't work. So this is a PC-only cycle. There are cycles to go through this room on consoles, but you'll want to check out top runs from console runners to see how that works. I unfortunately don't know exactly how those cycles go. All right, so this next room is pretty simple. You're going to want to take the upper path and just make sure you avoid this Vengefly. You can up slash it like I just did to get it out of your way. You can also jump to pogo it. If you get hit, not a huge problem. Just make sure it's not happening too much. Here you just want to jump over this gap. No big deal there. And once you reach this spot, you can jump down to this platform here. Pretty simple room. You'll get the hang of it in no time. Coming up here, you just want to go up. So it's just a couple of hops, very easy. This next room is a complicated room with a number of different strategies. The hardest of them is a little bit tough, so I don't recommend going for it initially, but you can learn it as you get a little bit better at the run. It's a cycle-based room. You'll notice this tick-tick that's walking around this platform above me. We do care about its cycle, so I'll be resetting this room to show you exactly how it works. All right, so you want to jump up here, jump to the left, and then immediately jump to the right. You'll notice that that aggroes this Vengefly above you. So that is another piece of the puzzle, and you're going to want to be careful not to let it get in your way. So let's reset this room. I'll show you how it works. The first strategy is to wait long enough for the tick-tick to move and then pogo this statue. This loses a little bit of time optimally, but it's a pretty decent strat. If you're a beginner, you can definitely do it, and it's not a huge problem. If the Vengefly is in your way when you do this, instead of pogoing the statue, you can pogo the Vengefly. It's a little bit more dangerous, but it'll still get the job done. The most optimal strat for this room is called Statue Pogo, which might be confusing because you don't actually... or you do actually pogo the statue in the other strategy I just showed you. But this one actually doesn't go up to this platform here. It instead jumps from this spot right here and pogos the statue, which gives you just enough height. Let's see if I can show that. There you go. So that strategy is slightly faster. It saves, maybe 0.3 seconds. Not a huge deal. If you want, you can just jump up here. That pogo is a lot harder than it looks, and it's actually one of the hardest tricks in this split, for sure. The reason that it can get complicated is this Vengefly can get in your way, and the pogo itself is very precise. You want to come into this corner, jump straight up, pogo just about at apex, and move to the right as soon as you pogo. But I'm not going to spend too much time on that. If you want to try it, you're free to, but I highly recommend just jumping up to the middle platform. It makes the trick a lot easier. Notice that we're not going to be stopping for the bench here. If you're about to die, you're having a lot of trouble, feel free to stop and heal. Feel free to stop and grab that bench. That's a perfectly optional bench to get. That's just down here. Let me show you really quickly. You can bench here if you're having trouble with the VS split. I highly recommend just making sure that whatever it is you're doing, you don't spend too much time having to reset to the early game when you're first learning a run. It's not going to be good for you in the long run. All right, so let's continue here. This next room is pretty simple. We're going to be jumping up onto this middle platform here, then jumping over this husk and just walking on past. We don't have to fight it. You can just walk right past. These guys here, you just want to try to avoid. If you get hit, it's okay. Sometimes they're just in spots where you can't avoid it. If you need to, stop and heal. It's no big deal. All right, now coming up here is the False Knight fight. This fight is one that we're actually going to be skipping. So we'll show you how it works. You just jump up here to the right and come into the arena. You want to make sure that you don't get hit by these guys. And you want to walk to about this spot here before you start the fight. That will spawn False Knight in. Now, if you do this fight as fast as possible, False Knight actually won't have any time to get an attack off. He takes 13 nail slashes to hit, and you can do that before he even has time to charge his first attack. So this shouldn't even be an issue. Just make sure you hit him 13 times. No big deal. I won't be going over the optimal strats for False Knight just yet, because I don't think it's something that's too worth worrying about. The most important thing is once you've knocked False Knight down, you want to hit him 8 times and then walk on over to this wall. This wall actually has a dev intended shortcut. Once he's done his tantrum phase, you'll notice that the wall got a crack in it. If you up slash 4 times, it breaks wide open and you just walk on down. This part is very simple. You just drop down. You can pogo this if you want and walk into the next room. So that's the False Knight skip. You're not going to actually be fighting False Knight. You're just going to be skipping the fight. All right. So here we're just going to walk right on up to Ancestral Mound. We're almost done with the first split of the run, which is Vengeful Spirit. And we'll get to the more fun parts pretty soon here. You walk into Ancestral Mound, talk to the Snail Shaman. The Snail Shaman will give you the Vengeful Spirit ability. Make sure that when you jump into it, you don't miss, and you're well on your way. All right, so once you pick up the Vengeful Spirit ability, you're going to be spawning in. We're going to be going through this mound. I'll show you how to do it quickly. If you want, at the very beginning, you can jump and break this first plank. We're going to be falling down here earlier. That's just a tiny little time save. You'll notice that people do it. When you come up to these planks, let me kill this guy so he's not in my way. When you come up to these planks, you want to side slash and then up slash. If you do it at exactly the right distance, you won't get any knockback. But if you get the knockback, not a big deal. Totally fine. Continue walking through here. This is a good spot to practice your platforming, your timing on when you're going to be jumping from platforms. Otherwise, there's not a lot going on. I'll show you that again. When you come here, you want to do a jump and then pogo this guy. It sets you up perfectly to hit these 2 planks. Again, it's not a big deal. Don't worry too much about this. You just want to make sure that you break these and head on down. After that boulder in this next area, you want to walk through and up slash this boulder. That'll allow you to walk right on past. It's a little bit tight on the timing, but you'll get a hang for it in no time at all. Now, here's another little small skip that we can do. It depends a lot on this Vengefly position. Let's set a save state and see if we can get it. So you want to jump up to these first 2 platforms, aggro the Vengefly, and then as it follows you, you can do a little pogo there. Lets you skip 1 jump, not a big deal. Sometimes the Vengefly's in your way, and sometimes it doesn't cooperate, so you'll notice there it's a little bit in your way. Feel free to kill it, and then you just have to jump up here. Very, very minor. Don't worry about it too much. You want to keep coming down here, get up to this platform, pogo this, and we're on to the Balder. Now, the Balder is a bit of an infamous bit of RNG in Hollow Knight. They take 4 fireballs to kill. You can only come in with 3. So this is why we don't use our soul in any part of the earlier mound. I mean, not only can we do it faster without using any soul, but we want to save all of our soul for this Balder. We're going to hit it twice. You can hit it 3 times here if you want. And then we're going to have to wait for it to spit a Balder out at us so we can get enough soul to kill it. The Balder spits are exactly 50-50 RNG. You notice we got it on our second spit there. That's totally fine. It'll spit out a Balder eventually if you keep waiting. You want to use your other 2 fireballs to kill it. And we'll get rid of our extra soul just so I can show the soul collection in the next split. So once you kill this Balder, you want to jump on down back to the start of the mound. I see that the save state has respawned this plank. You can just break through these 3 platforms, no big deal. Talk to the Snail Shaman, and you get right on out of here. So that's Ancestral Mound. It's a pretty quick segment. You'll find that most of it just comes down to the Balder RNG. It's not something that you should really worry about too much. All right, so we are actually not going to be benching here unless you need to get a heal. The next segment is Greenpath, which can be a bit of a stickler section for beginners. So if you need to take this bench, feel free to take it, but it's not necessary. Actually, by collecting Vengeful Spirit, our bench is set to this bench, even though we've never sat on it. So that's actually convenient for us later because we're going to be using that fact. Once you leave Ancestral Mound, you just drop on down here. You can do an inventory drop here if you want, but it doesn't really save a lot of time, so don't really worry about it. Come on down, hit this lever, and come on into the next room. All right, again, a simple room here. We're going to just be going up. And then this room is a very important room in this run. So I'm going to come on down here and set a quick save state. This next room, we are about to go and fight the Balder that's blocking our entrance to Greenpath. So we're going to need to collect soul. So as we come up here, we want to make sure that we get actually all 9 hits of soul because we don't have Soul Catcher. That means you just want to kind of kill the things that are in your way. These tick-ticks will always be there, but the Gruzzers are totally random. Once you get 9 hits of soul, you can go on into this room. If you're very short, so if you're at most 2 short, you can wait for this tick-tick to come back around and you can hit it twice. If you're extremely short, more than 2 hits, you may as well just go into the room and wait for extra Balder spits and hope that you get good RNG. But you really want to come in here with full soul. Unlike on earlier patches, we have to kill this Balder just like we did the Ancestral Mound Balder. So that's what we do next. So exact same strategy. We wait for our Balder spits. You can jump and try to hit them as they spawn if you like, but it's not necessary. All right, so there's that Balder. Pretty easy fight. Nothing really other than RNG to worry about. All right, so you want to continue on into Greenpath. You just jump up on these platforms. If you have some soul, you can try a fireball skip here. I'm not going to cover it. You almost never have soul here because you just killed the Balder on current patch. So I won't be covering that fireball skip, but it's a similar strategy to the later fireball skips, which I will be showcasing. All right, as we move through Greenpath here, you want to be collecting soul. So you can do that by just killing these guys if you'd like to. You can move through them before they explode, by the way, if you're trying to move quickly. Or you can pogo over them. That gives you less soul, but it allows you to move through them quicker. Really what you want here is at least 7 hits of soul. If you can get more, that's fine. If you can get less, I'll try to show you a strategy to get a little bit more from a couple birds later in the run. Soul collection is actually one of the most important parts of Greenpath, so you do want to be thinking about it as you move through these rooms. Of course, #1 priority, make sure you're getting through without getting hit as much as you can. You have 5 health here. Hopefully, you'll be able to make it through the end of Greenpath without losing that. But if you need to stop and heal, feel free to do so. So if you come through this room with at least 7 hits of soul, you don't need to worry about these first birds, but you can actually hit these birds by coming up here and then jumping down just like that. You don't actually need to jump onto this platform to hit them, but it's very precise if you try to just jump. If you just walk at them, they'll run away. But if you have at least 7 hits of soul, you don't even need to worry about these birds. Instead, you're going to get these 2 birds here, which will give you 2 extra hits of soul. You can jump up and slash right at the top of your jump, and you'll get these birds every time. These are very consistent, and they don't fly away even if you miss, so you can always just jump back up and get them again. That's why 7 hits is plenty. All right, so here is the infamous Fireball Skip. This is a very important skip in this run and the first really big skip. Fireball skips are very difficult, so don't worry if you are missing them. However, I do want to say, make sure that you give it at least 1 try when you come into this room. That'll help you learn the skip, and then you can go for the backup, and I'll show you that backup as well. But you want to make sure you give it at least a try, because if you can learn these, they do save quite a lot of time. This one, compared to the backup, saves about 10 seconds, and compared to no backup at all and going around, saves over a minute. So this is a big skip. We want to make sure that we're able to do it. All right, so the premise for this skip is we can't quite make this jump. Hornet teases us and then walks away. So you see we're not able to make it. Let's set a save state here. With the pushback from a fireball, we can actually make the jump, though. So what you want to do is you want to walk toward the edge of this platform. You want to jump as close to the edge as you can. And then in the air, you want to turn around and shoot some fireballs. Let's see if we can get that. So just like that, we get up onto this platform. So you see how that works? We get the pushback from the fireballs, and that pushes us the extra distance we need to get onto this platform. There's a couple of very important components to this trick. The first is what I described in the beginning, which is that you want to be using your quick cast button. That quick cast button allows us to hit several fireballs in a row without losing height. This is something you're going to want to practice. I recommend installing debug mod and making sure you can do exactly what I'm doing now, fireball several times without losing height. You just need to learn the timing for it. It's not too bad. If you're using your focus button, you'll notice sometimes the fireballs don't even come out, but if they do, it is a lot of height lost. So this trick is almost impossible with the focus button. You really want to be using the quick cast button. The next thing is you really want to practice your turnaround. So the turnaround is a very important piece of this. If I jump and fireball the same direction as I'm going, the pushback's in the wrong direction. And if I jump and turn around too slow, you'll notice that I move too far to the right and I don't get the trick. So what you want to do is as soon as you turn around, you want to shoot some fireballs. Now I use analog. You can do this on D-pad. If you're using analog, or if you're using a controller, you can actually do a claw grip if you're so inclined, where you hold left on your analog, then press right on the D-pad. That causes you to move to the right. There's similar functionality implemented for keyboard in something called the SOCD cleaner. You are free to try that as well. But you can do this with just an analog stick or just a D-pad or just keyboard. It's all possible. Now, again, there's a lot of ways that this trick can fail. It's actually significantly harder than it looks, but if you practice it enough, you'll find yourself start to get it. I wouldn't spend too much time trying to learn this, but this is definitely one of the big tricks in Myla %, and you can start to learn it really right away. There's nothing stopping you, and if you fail it, it's not that big of a deal. So again, you want these tight turnarounds. Make sure that you turn around with enough timing to actually make it onto here. This trick can be done with 3 fireballs if you want. It can be done with 2 fireballs, which is the most common, or it can even be done with 1 fireball if you're very, very good with your execution. You can see how hard that is. You need to really jump as late as possible and turn around as tightly as possible to make that up with 1 fireball, but it can be done if that's what you want to do. 2 fireballs is probably the coziest. It's a good medium between using all the soul that you've collected and making sure that you can actually make the jump. So ideally, you're going to come out of this room with 3 hits of soul. So that's 1/3 of the soul meter full, and that'll help you set up for the next part. All right, now let's say you missed the fireball skip, right? You come up here, you didn't quite make it, you fall down. It's a shame. What are you going to do? You don't have enough soul to retry. Well, this is where our lovely friend Eric will come in. You see the squid over there? We've called him Eric, and we are going to be using him to get up there anyway. So the idea is you jump over, you aggro Eric, you come to this platform. You jump up a little bit, and it puts him right up here and allows you to pogo him to get into the next room. So we call that Squid Skip or Eric Skip, whatever you like. But this is a very consistent backup. You don't even need to go for the Fireball Skip if you know that you're going to be using the backup anyway. But again, I recommend you try the Fireball Skip when you come through here. If it fails, come on down, aggro Eric, jump up to here, do a couple little hops, and then go and give him a nice little pogo, and he'll help you right on up. That's a very consistent backup. The backup loses about 10 seconds to a first try Fireball Skip, but it's really not too bad. If that's what you want to go for, that's perfectly fine if you're finding the Fireball Skip too difficult. But again, I do recommend trying it at least once. All right, let's turn off Infinite Soul here. I want to showcase the Soul Collection in this next bit. So optimally, we're going to come into this room with 3 hits of Soul. Let's say we didn't. Let's say that we've found ourselves in a position where we used all of our fireballs, or maybe we have 1 hit of soul. That's okay. You're going to want to collect a little bit of extra soul, or you'll just skip the fireball skip in the next room. But when you walk out of this room, you want at least 6 hits. So I'll show you how to do that. All right, let's walk through here. We come to this first squid. We can up slash this one twice. That gives us 2 hits of soul. It's very convenient. This next platform is where we'll find our first Moss Charger. Now, there's a very particular strategy for these guys. You want to left slash them in order to cause them to be exposed, basically. Then as you walk next to them, you want to be up slashing. So I'll show you how that works. You left slash, and if you have the timing right, it puts you in position to get these up slashes and to actually kill the Moss Charger. Now, that's a little bit hard as well. So you can find yourself in a tough position. Let's set a save state here. You can find yourself in a tough position where you're not able to get those hits of soul. Again, that's okay. That just means we're going to be not doing the fireball skip in the next room, and you'll be doing the backup instead. That backup is not too bad. It only loses a few seconds, so I'll show you that in the next room. But yeah, when you come through here, you want to make sure that you're gathering enough soul that you have 6 hits going into the next room. There it is again. You'll notice sometimes if you left slash, it'll knock the Moss Charger far away. If it falls onto this platform, that's okay. You're just going to be pogoing him. If they fall, but it's not the final hit, there's a very important caveat. If you try to pogo, you won't get any height. So you might take damage. But even if you take damage, it'll damage boost you onto this platform. You'll be okay. All right, so this room here, this room's actually cycle dependent. So I'm going to put my save state in this room. When we walk in here, we want to come onto this middle platform. This Moss Charger will be, or Moss Creep will be in my way. That's fine. This is another fireball skip. So you'll notice we can't quite make that jump. We're going to be, again, making this jump with the same exact kind of fireball skip that we did earlier. This one's a little bit tighter because if you jump early, you're going to actually bonk your head on the platform up here. So you want to jump as close to the ledge as possible. Just right at the end there. And then you want to do the fireball skip just like before. This one's a little easier to get with a single fireball, but I highly recommend using 2 fireballs in any case because it will make your life a lot easier. The practice for the first fireball skip will pay off with this fireball skip, so it's definitely worth putting in some practice here. Overall, they'll save you quite a bit of time, and you get 2 chances. I do recommend going for both of these. If you miss them, that's fine. We'll go for the backup. So let me show you the backup. The backup is cycle dependent, so you want to be quick with it. When we enter this room, I'll show you how it works if we miss the fireball skip. So we come over here. We missed the fireball skip. We want to move to the left as quickly as possible. So you want to come over here, jump up to this platform here, and aggro this guy. That will cause him to fall off the edge, and then you can pogo them on the way up. We call this dude pogo typically because you pogo the dude. It's nice. You can actually go for this directly without even attempting the fireball skip. So if you come into this room without full soul or without enough soul to do 2 fireballs, or you're just having one of those days and your fireball skips aren't working, you just come up here, you aggro them, and you pogo the dude. This can go badly sometimes. If you're slow getting there, the husks can be out of position, but if you go directly without trying the fireball skip, they'll always work. So let's say I take too long. I go, ah, wow, I missed that fireball skip. You're so mad at yourself. You take a lot longer than normal getting back up here. Well, now you'll notice they're too far away. You can't aggro them anymore. So you actually just have to go around. It's not a big deal, but you just have to jump up here and go and kill the guys like this. All right, so there is one additional thing in this room that I do want to point out, and it's the 2 Geo Rocks up here. So it's not in the optimal route, but it is a good backup as a beginner because it will allow you to get some extra Geo and maybe allow you to avoid Vengefly King, which I'll be showing a little bit later. So as we come through here, you do the fireball skip or you just go around, whichever one. Oops. All right, we're going around. It's one of those days. We're going around. So you come up here and you simply jump over to this little platform and watch out for this Full Eater. Come up here, up slash these rocks. Real quick Geo, you get like a good 50 Geo there. That will allow you to replace Vengefly King. Another reason that we might want this Geo is there's going to be a beginner route option toward the end of this run, which requires an additional 300 Geo. So that's 50 of it right there. That's really good. It allows you to not have to worry about Geo as much throughout the run. Feel free to go for it if you want. It's not really worth if you don't get the fireball skip, but if you do, then it doesn't take too much time at all. All right, so coming into this next room, not too difficult of a room. You just jump on through, and you're going to want to be heading up to the top of the room. You are going to want to make sure in this room that you have either full soul or at least 8 hits of soul, because in the next room, we're going to need 3 fireballs. So to accomplish that, you could kill these guys if you like. You could kill the obels that were a little bit earlier. Whatever you want, it's totally fine. You want to come up into this room. So here I'm gonna, let's set the save state here and come into this next room. This room is the first kind of arena battle. It is the Moss Knight. Now, the easiest way to fight this Moss Knight is to slash and shoot 3 fireballs. That'll kill him. This is the most consistent thing that you can do. It's very hard to mess that up. You just slash 3 fireballs. If you came in with at least 8 hits of soul, you'll have enough to do it. Easy, works every time. There is a slightly faster strat that you'll see some people doing, which is to get very close, up slash, fireball, jump, and fireball. So you saw me do it there. That's called the double or the jump back. This is very nice because it saves a little bit of soul for you. However, it's a little bit tricky. You're going to want to practice it if you want to do it. My best advice to try to get that strategy is you want to stand just outside the little moss leaf bits. So let me show you that again. So you want to stand just outside of these leaves. Then you want to up slash. Then when he spawns, up slash fireball. And then jump as if you're going to pogo him. You saw there he didn't jump back. That's fine. If they don't jump back, that just means you're going to have to shoot your extra fireball anyway, but it's okay. Doesn't lose too much time to try. But this is an easy way to get hit. If you stand too close, you'll just get hit. And I don't recommend this when you're very first learning the run, but it's something to keep in mind. So you see I'm too close here, I just get hit, and now everything's thrown off. And you really don't want this, because 3 fireballs won't kill, so now you need to come over and get a pogo. It's painful. So, as a beginner, when you're first learning the run, I definitely recommend just coming in, side slash, 3 fireballs. Easy peasy, no problems at all. You want to make sure you actually get pretty much all of this Geo. You don't need all of it, but you do want most of it. Alright, so we hop on up here. This is pretty straightforward, and we come into the room with the Vengefly King in it. This room is one where you're going to want to collect soul. You'll need 7 hits of soul before you reach the Vengefly King, and there's a few enemies in your way to help make it happen. Actually, hold on. Let's set a save state and go through this room a couple of times. All right, so there's a few enemies in your way. These ones you can jump and pogo if you like. Again, anytime you see this kind of movement, feel free to just stand and slash and make sure that you get through this room safely. That's your #1 priority in these runs. Make sure you're not dying. So you can get 4 hits on those, another 2 on this Vengefly here, and another 2 on this Vengefly here. If you come in with a bit of soul, because you did maybe the Moss Knight double hit or something like that, you don't need to get all these hits. You can just do a single hit on some of them, or you can just ignore others entirely. But if you come in with no soul, that'll give you enough hits. It'll give you 8 hits. You only need 7, so you're in good shape. All right. Coming up next is one of the more difficult beginner pieces of this run. It is the Vengefly King Quick Kill. So the way that this works is you're going to be... So Vengefly King takes 11 hits equivalent of damage. What that's going to be for us is 2 nail slashes and 3 fireballs. So the way that you can set this up is you want to basically make sure that you're jumping exactly a nail slash's distance away from the Vengefly King. I do that by jumping up from here and moving a bit left. You could set yourself up a little bit more left, like maybe here. So notice my positioning against the ground. I think this should be close enough. Let's find out. It is. Okay, so that can be your setup if you like. You can stand basically right there. Against those rocks in the background. Oh, this guy respawns. Against these rocks in the background, stand up here, jump straight up, then you want to side slash and fireball, side slash and double fireball. This setup is nice because it doesn't require any sideways movement. Usually when I walk in here, I'll jump from here and then stop moving at some point, but if you're just learning, you can set yourself up right on that stone and do that. So this kill can be a little bit trickier than it looks, and the reason is that you need to be very precise with your timing on the fireballs. So I'll show you what happens if you mess it up a little bit, and if you're a little too slow on your fireballs, or if you're not using the quick cast button. So again, we stand here. So you saw I was a little slow there on my nail slash, and I missed the nail slash and a fireball. And that's really problematic, because now the Vengefly King has a lot of hits of health left. I'll show you how to back that up as well. It's really not too bad, but you do want to try to make sure that you're fireballing as quickly as you can. Just like that. All right, so let me show you how to back this up if you are missing some fireballs. So one thing that can happen is you can be too close and you can take a hit. That's actually okay. When you take that hit, all that needs to happen is you just fireball after you get out of the hit. So let's see if I can do that. So you see there, the iframes helped me. I was still able to get a quick kill. That's totally fine if you have enough health. All right, if you're in a position where you're at low health here, you really don't want to risk a hit, then the strategy that I would recommend is a slightly slower kill, but one that will make sure that you get both health and soul for the next bit. So instead of doing the full quick kill, we're going to do the first 2 fireballs and nail slash. And then we're going to do an up slash, jump over to this platform, jump back up and do 2 more up slashes. That'll kill Vengefly King. Make sure you get all the geo because we're still on this middle platform. We missed a little bit, but that's okay. And make sure that you don't take any hits and you get a couple extra hits of soul. So that's a good backup strategy. I do recommend that if you are low on health. Now, one thing that can happen, you can be in a similar situation where you missed your fireball and you find yourself needing to get extra hits. Same idea, just make sure you stand underneath Vengefly King, jump up and up slash. This one was a little bit slower than it could have been because I let Vengefly King get a little bit far to the right. If you do this well, you can actually make sure that you're only killing Vengefly King over the platform. Just like that. So this makes sure that you can get your geo nice and clean. That'll help you kind of back up some of the things that can go wrong. Worst case, you can just come back over and do a lot of up slashing and you'll be completely fine. But that's the Vengefly King quick kill. Hopefully that does help you guys out. If you're finding yourself struggling a lot with Vengefly King, that's okay. You can actually skip Vengefly King. We only do it for the geo, for the 65 geo. So you could get some of those rocks that I pointed out earlier, the ones a few rooms back with the fireball skip in Greenpath. That gives you 50 geo, which almost makes up for it. And there's one more set of rocks later that I'll show off. So if you find yourself really struggling with this, feel free to skip Vengefly King and get different geo sources in the run. All right, so we're almost done with Greenpath here. We come on down to this room. In this room, you just want to make sure you don't fall down to where the Moss Knights are. As a beginner, you really don't want to have to deal with them. Drop on down to here. We're going to find one more Moss Charger. You can just jump over this one if you want, but you can do the same thing you did earlier, which is to get 3 slashes on them if you want to try to get a little bit of soul for Hornet. So just like that. This also gives you a little bit of geo, so it's kind of nice, but if you're struggling with the Moss Charger quick kill like that, feel free to just jump over them. You don't really need to worry about them. It just gives you less soul for Hornet. All right, and then we're right here. We're about to fight Hornet, and we're about to get our dash, so you jump on in right from this platform up here. You can also jump from this one, but this one's obviously slightly faster. You walk on into Hornet, and this is really the only boss fight in the entire run. So I'll describe a couple of things about Hornet. Mostly you're going to be looking not to die, but there's a couple of things that you can learn how to do. So the first thing is, if you come in with a ton of soul, I typically only go for this if I'm on full soul, but feel free to do it if you're so inclined. You can actually skip the dialogue of this fight by dropping down and shooting a fireball. So you notice that starts the fight right away. If you want to do that, you can. It doesn't deal damage to her, so it isn't really better, but it does probably save a little time if you're at full soul anyway. All right, so let's say that we're not going to be skipping the dialogue. We're just going to be walking down there and getting started with the fight. Whatever we're doing, we're going to want to close the gap to Hornet and get an extra nail slash and maybe a couple of fireballs in. This is where really, again, you're just going to want to make sure that you're not dying, but you can try to make sure that you get as many hits in as you can. Now, there is one additional strategy that you can do, which is after she staggers, when we unstagger her, we're going to slash and jump with her, try to get as many hits as we can. I'll show you how that works. And then once she lands, we're going to shoot some fireballs and hope for a double. So here's how this works. So just like that. We didn't get a double, but that's okay. Normally Hornet will stagger pretty frequently. One thing is that when she does her needle throw attack, it effectively kills your stagger combo, so it will take longer for her to stagger. If she's doing the needle throw attack, don't count on staggers. Otherwise, the staggers will happen pretty frequently, I believe every 6 hits on current patch. So you can count your hits and basically catch her in a stagger loop if you're playing well. But again, when you're doing this fight early on, mostly focus on not dying. Try to go for those doubles when you can. And, you can worry about optimizing the fight a little bit later. This is the only boss fight in Myla %, so you don't need to worry about it too much. And it's something that you're going to, again, get a lot of practice in over time because it's in every single early game in Hollow Knight. So I'll show you the rest of the fight here. So you see there, sometimes she can go a little bit far away. That's fine. Fight isn't too long. If you come in here with enough health, you'll be totally fine. All right, so once she's dead, you're just going to want to pick up the dash ability, and then we're going to immediately quit out to the main menu. So this is our first quit out in this run. What the quit out is doing is basically allowing us to warp back to the last bench that we sat at. In our case, that's going to be Ancestral Mound. So we're going to hit the third option here, and then the first option here, if you don't speak Chinese, that is to quit to menu. And then we're going to go right back into the game. And you'll notice that it puts us in Ancestral Mound. Even if we didn't sit on this bench, this will work. This is a way to quickly get to Fungal Wastes after Hornet without having to go all the way back through Greenpath. All right, so now we continue. The next split is underway, and it is Mantis Claw. This is the last major piece of movement we're getting until C-Dash, so also probably the most important thing. There's a few things in this split, but a lot of it is just you want to be dashing all the time, everywhere, and follow the route that I'm going to show you. So again, you're going to come on down through here. Then we're going to go down in this room. Again, you want to just be dashing a lot. You can again, drop down, you can jump, you can pre-jump, do all those kinds of things. The optimal movement, I'm not really going to go over too much. Just try to move as quickly as you can and dash as often as you can when you're starting out. If you want to learn specific movement, you can start to watch high-level runs and see what you do. In this room, in the Aspid Arena room, you want to come down to the bottom left entrance, And then this room is one place where I will tell you what the optimal strategy is, because it's a little bit precise. When you walk into this room, you don't want to be holding any directions. If you hold left, you won't have enough room to dash. So when we walk into this room, we want to not be holding any direction, and then we want to dash and jump as soon as the dash ends, and only then start holding left. So let me show you that again. If you don't do this, we call these a neutral dash, where we're not holding any direction. If you don't do the neutral dash like that, and you dash to the left, then you're going to actually fall off the platform. So you want to do a neutral dash, and then hold left and jump. So one more time. If I'm holding left when I come in, I fall off the platform just like that, and this wastes a lot of time. So you come in, you do your neutral dash, jump, and then start holding left. So again, look at my input display if you want to see how that's working, but make sure that you're doing a neutral dash at the start of this room. Once you're in here, you can drop on down. Again, I'm not going to worry too much about what the optimal movement is here, but you're going for the bottom entrance. Not a big deal. All right, so we're heading into the Fungal Wastes here. Now, there's a few things that you're going to need to worry about in this split. The first is that you're going to need to collect soul if you're going to be trying to do the fireball explosion pogo method that I'll be describing later. So I'll talk about the soul collection. If you decide not to try that trick, you don't need to worry about the soul collection, and you can just move through these rooms. So the first thing is we're going to just be dropping down off this platform. There's one hit that you can get on the way down against that guy right there. Because I paused at the beginning, the cycle was off, but even if you don't get that hit, that's totally fine. So you just want to drop straight down, avoid this acid pool by dashing at the right moment. Then you get over to here and fall down again. You get down to this platform. You will take a hard fall pretty much all the time here. And then you're going to want to dash left off the end of here. I'm not going to describe the optimal way to avoid all these next platforms, but basically you just want to get through the bottom of this room without dunking in acid and, you know, do whatever strat you find comfortable. You want to weave your way down through these platforms. Don't do that. And get on down to the very bottom of this room. So just make sure you don't hit the acid. You're just going down, and once we get to the bottom right, then we are in good shape. Okay, so once you're in this room, this is a great room to collect some soul. If you missed that soul hit earlier, and you're like me, you have 0 soul here, you want to make sure that you get a few hits in this room. You can do hits on these guys, get a nice few hits. Walking out of this room with at least 3 hits is probably sufficient, but if you have more, that's great. 3 hits you can get without wasting any time. If you do what I did and stopped and got extra hits, that's also fine, but 3 should be enough. All right, this next room, we're going to do a little bit of weaving through these platforms. You dash here, fall left, and dash again. It's very easy to fall in the acid if you're not too careful here, so you want to be sure that you aren't dunking. If you need to, you can land on the platform that's above me, but that's actually not necessary to get through this. Next up, you want to drop down through here, weave through those platforms, and pogo this guy. Basically, you just want to make sure that you don't get a hard fall, don't get exploded by this, and then you come on down out of this room. Okay, this room, very simple. You're just dashing to the left. You can actually dash directly over the gap at the end if you time your dashes perfectly throughout this room, just like that. But if you don't time your dashes perfectly, you'll end up in the acid, and that isn't great. So I do recommend right before your last dash, just do a little hop, get over this platform. Easy peasy. All right. Again, just going to show you how to go through this room. These little things here, we do need to pogo them to get through this room. If you were like me in my casual, you never really found that out until hours later. So make sure that you come in here. You want to dash, pogo, just like I'm doing. Again, not going to spend too long on the optimal movement. You'll just get a feel for this. And once you want to actually learn how to perfectly go through these rooms, you can start to watch some high-level runs. Until then, you just want to make sure you're coming through these rooms in a reasonable way. One thing I will say is there is a nice drop here, which is to dash off of this platform, fall under the middle of that mushroom, and then dash again once you hit the bottom. So let me show you that one more time. So once you get down to here, dash, fall under the middle of that mushroom up there. If you don't know what I'm pointing to, it is this mushroom right here. you want to align yourself with the middle of it, and then dash again. That'll allow you to get through this room pretty quickly. All right, so this next room is the fabled epogo room. I have a separate tutorial for Explosion Pogo, which I am going to link in the description and also up in one of the corners here, probably. So please check that out if you want an in-depth tutorial on how to do Explosion Pogo. For these purposes, I'll show it once, and then I'm going to show you how to go around. So if you're doing Explosion Pogo with 3 fireballs, which is the recommended method, please just make sure that you have enough soul here. You want 9 hits of soul. And you can actually get these Geo Rocks as well if you are taking a beginner route and maybe you skipped Vengefly King, or if you're going to be getting the safety later of King Station Stag. These are Geo Rocks that you're going to want. So you can come over and get them and get soul along the way. That's perfectly fine. Now, we'll go through this room and I'll show you Explosion Pogo once. And again, I have an in-depth tutorial on this trick in particular, which I will be linking here. So do check that out if you want to learn how to do this. That's the method that I recommend. Number 1 takeaway is to make sure you're using the quick cast button. That is how you don't lose height on those fireballs. Very important not to lose height. Other than that, make sure you're using the 3 fireball method. It is significantly easier to pick up as a beginner, and it will just greatly improve your consistency for this part of the run. Now, if you decide that you're not doing Explosion Pogo, which is perfectly fine when you're just starting out, it only saves about 40 seconds, so you can actually just go around. If you're going around, you're just going to be going through these rooms. Very simple movement. You just want to make sure that you don't get hit by any of the mantises and you don't hit any of the mushrooms. Walk through a little bit carefully. You can get a couple of hits on this guy as you come through if you want. And come on down here. Here you want to go left, then around this platform, and then drop on down to here. Again, I'm not going to spend too long on how to move through these rooms optimally. You just want to make sure that you're not getting hit. Once you get down here, you're going to come into the first exit on your left. That is Mantis Village. All right, so once you're entering this room from this direction, it's going to be a little bit different than if you come here with Explosion Pogo. So let me just describe it really quickly. The main thing is we're going to be doing something called Mantis Pogo at the end of the room. So to get there, we are just going to be dashing through here, coming up here, and then we're going to take the upper path. So you can walk down on the lower path if you want, but if we're doing Mantis Pogo, this is a better way to aggro a bunch of mantises and get over here. This one we're going to want to fireball and come dash over to kill. I'll show you that a little bit more when we do the version of Mantis Pogo from the top of the room, which we'll do in just a minute. Now, the way Mantis Pogo works is you essentially want to pogo all of these lovely young mantises here. To do that, there's a couple of things you can do. You can stand over here to get them set up. And then basically you just want to find your way up here, climb these mantises. It's very, very inconsistent, but just make sure that you basically aren't dying is the most important thing. We are going to quit out right after claw, so even if you get down to 1 health, that's perfectly fine. You just want to make sure you don't literally die, and if you do need to go around, that's completely fine. You'll just take the bottom path back around. So let me show you this again with hopefully slightly better execution. You see there, I was just a little bit too low. If you need to come over to the right, that's also fine. That just means that you'll have to come back over here. But again, if something goes terribly wrong, you can't pogo these mantises, it's just a nightmare, then you'll just take this lower path here and come all the way around. So that's perfectly fine. You'll find yourself doing that plenty when you're first starting. But let me show you one more time with the Mantis Lure that I do recommend if you're taking the go around route. So you come up here, lure as many mantises as you can get. Then you want to stop here, fireball this guy, come and slash him. And then you want to stand over on this side to kind of line them up, come back over, and basically just wait for a spot where you can notice that you're going to be able to pogo them. So just like that. So I do recommend going back and forth between this corner right here, directly under this plank, and back over here, directly under this one. It'll keep them kind of in a reasonable location. And if you notice them being a bit tedious, you can just back off and retry it. All right, now I do want to show you the way to do this room from the top. So if I do come in from from Explosion Pogo, I'm actually going to be coming through this room. So let me show you this entire room. All right, so I've just come in from Explosion Pogo, and we're coming into this room. We want to come over here, and we've used all of our soul. So it's very important in this room that you gather 3 hits of soul. So if you just come from Explosion Pogo, you're standing up on this platform, you've got no soul. You come in here, you want to make sure that you can get a couple of hits of soul on your way down. You need 3 soul. Ideally, you want to make sure you're at a little bit more health than what I've got right now, because the next bit, it's very easy to get hit a couple of times, but we'll show you how this works. So you drop down here, you can get an up slash on that guy if you like, and then the next room is, again, the Mantis Pogo room. There is a very nice setup to get a consistent Mantis Pogo that I want to show you, but this is very difficult. I warn you now, don't worry about this as a beginner too much. You can just go for the backup, or you can just go around, but if you do get this Mantis Pogo down, it'll make your life a lot easier. So you fall into this room and you land here. I want to jump off this room, going to the left, basically wiggle my way around this wall, and then I want to dash as soon as I can to the left. Then I want to stand about where I'm standing right now. So Mantis Pogo will now fail because I had to stop and pause, but that's okay. You want to stand about where I'm standing right now. So you notice these spores. I want to stand around this spot on the left side of this spore, just a little bit left, and fireball this guy. We're going to dash over to him and up slash, then jump up and hit the lever. So let me show that. Oh, wait, why did the guy die? Hold on, let's try this again. So we come on here, we jump down, dash as soon as we can. You saw me mess up there. Yeah, then we dash and we up slash just like that. I'm not sure what happened with the save state earlier, but that's okay. This will kill this mantis, and then we're going to jump up and hit the lever. Now the lever's already hit, so you aren't able to see that, but that will open up the gate that we need. All right, so let me show up to the lever one more time. All right, so once we've hit that lever, now again, remember, the place that we fireball, how soon we dash, and that we do an up slash are all very important pieces of this. So you need to get all 3 of those down. This is why this trick is very difficult. But once we've hit this lever, what we want to do is dash back over to the right. Then we're going to pogo the left mantis, dash and pogo the right mantis. Because I've paused, I don't think this will work, but we'll give it a try. Yeah, you saw that the mantis moved too far. So let's try one more time from the top and see if we can't get it. Now, this is a completely consistent trick. If you do everything the same every time, this will work every time. So just like that, you saw me get up here with a very consistent Mantis Pogo. You notice that I pogoed the right Mantis twice. That is something that you sometimes need to do, but you don't always have to. So you saw there I got up with only a single Pogo. So this is really a huge, really headache saver. If you try to Pogo them using their AI, it's very inconsistent and very annoying to have to do. But again, the same strategies that I described earlier, minus dashing into the wall there, but the same strategies I described earlier do work, where you come over here and then come over to here and back and forth until you see a little bit of a ladder that you can climb up. So I do recommend spending some time on Mantis Pogo. It is one of the most annoying tricks in the run, and one that you'll be glad to have done. All right, so once you've successfully done Mantis Pogo, you're going to just come up here and go and collect the Claw ability. Again, this is why you don't need to worry about health. As soon as we pick up the Mantis Claw, we're just going to quit back out to Ancestral Mound. Now, one additional thing, if you are using the beginner route, which is going to require a little bit of extra geo, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later, instead of quitting out here, we actually do want to take a slight detour. So we are going to be leaving from this pickup, and make sure you don't die to these mantises here. We're going to come up the way that you came from Explosion Pogo, if you did that, into this room, and we're just going to very quickly climb this wall and pick up this journal here. Now, as soon as you've done that, you are free to quit out just like before. We just need to pick this up for an extra 200 geo a little bit later in the run. So this is the beginner-only route. If you are playing the optimal route, again, you just quit out from Mantis Claw. You don't need to worry about picking this up. This is only if you are running the beginner route. All right, so at this point, you're about halfway through the run. So if you've made it this far, congratulations. I'll show you now how the second half goes. All right, so once we get off from Ancestral Mound, we're just going to be leaving the same way we did before. Again, you just want to dash as often as you can. You'll learn this optimal movement over time. It's not something you really need to worry about now. Now, we're going to need to collect soul on our way to the next area because we're about to go fight Gruz Mother. So we come through here. We can get a hit of soul in this room on this Aspid if you want. That's pretty consistent. I do recommend you go for it. This Goam Room, again, the cycles are going to be a problem. I do recommend doing a neutral dash. That means holding no directions at the beginning of this room, just like we did on the entrance to Fungal, because it lines you up much better, just like you saw there. Again, you want several hits of soul on your way through here, so you can hit that Vengefly twice if you like, or just once if you're feeling like it. Coming through here, again, dashing as often as you can, getting hits of soul where you can. You can pogo these guys if you want for a little bit better timing, but you're just heading through the room as quickly as possible. Now, we get to this room. If you're an astute Hollow Knight player, you may notice that Gruz Mother is actually down from here, but we are going to go up because what we need to do is two things. We need to open Crossroads Stag, and we need to actually set our bench here. So we open Crossroads Stag, and we sit down on this bench. This is very important. In the optimal route, this bench is the bench you're going to be holding for basically the rest of the game. If you're not doing the optimal route, we will be getting a different bench, but it's still very important that you open up Crossroads Stag like this, because this will be important to stag from a little bit later. So now we can head back on down to Gruz Mother, which is a very quick fight. Again, get some hits of soul on your way. If you have at least 6 hits, you're in good shape, but more is always helpful. And we just come on over here. Gruz Mother is a little bit of a tricky fight, but one that's not too bad. So the way that it works is there's a very good damage rotation, which is to nail slash fireball 3 times. So nail fireball, nail fireball, nail fireball, and then get 6 more nail slashes in. It's a very quick fight, not a big deal. So let me show you here. All right, so that's the fight. Nail fireball, nail fireball, nail fireball, and 6 nail slashes. The second half here is something that we call the cleanup. This is a bit more painful. Here you want to save 2 fireballs and try to get those fireballs to kill as many Gruzzers as you can. This is something you're going to get better at over time. The Gruz Mother fight as well is something you're going to get better at over time. I do recommend learning that quick kill. It's not too hard. If you end up missing some fireballs, that's okay. It just means 3 extra nail slashes, but you do want to try to kind of learn it if you can. All right. So at this point, there are 2 branches to take. If you're taking the optimal route, what you want to do is you want to go actually save Sly and die immediately. If you're not taking the optimal route and you want a bit of a safety later in the run, you can feel free to grab the Salubra bench here. So again, the optimal route does not bench here. The optimal route will keep your bench in Crossroads Stag. This is a bit different from any percent. But if you're not doing the optimal route, feel free to take that bench. It will make your life a little bit easier in just a second because we're going to be coming from here to do a shade skip instead of coming from Crossroads Stag. Now, let's say you're doing the optimal route. We're going to go save Sly. And even if you're not and you took the Salubra bench, you're still going to come over here and save Sly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to intentionally die. So this works the same way both ways. You want to make sure that you're to the right of this doorway in the background here. And that way, if you die, your shade will be in the right position to set up for this shade skip. All right, so with the optimal route, we spawn at Crossroads Stag. We're just going to head right on back down. And you don't really need to worry about soul or anything on this pass through, so you can just hit enemies that are in your way. That's fine. And now we're going to be doing the one really required skip of the run, which is the shade skip. So let me set a save state here and show you how that works. So as we come through here, we're going to be up slashing our shade to hit it once. This leads it to one hit away from death. Then we want to lure it just like that in a way that lets us pogo it to get on up here. So I'm going to show you that one more time, and then I'm going to describe a little bit of how it works. So I like to stall up here, and then you get a shade fireball sometimes. That's fine. And then as it gets close, you want to slide down the wall a bit. So I like to stall up here until it gets to around the door, slide down the wall, then jump back up to the top. So again, I'll show you that one more time. So we stall up toward the top until it reaches Salubra's door or so, slide down, jump back up, and then go and pogo it. And again, you can watch my input display if you like, but the visual cue that I'm using is waiting for the shade to reach about that position. So I want it to be just about where the door is. You can see it's a little bit to the left of it. That's totally fine. There's plenty of visual cues that you can use, but just about reaching the hut, somewhere between the hut and the door. I start to slide down, then I'll jump back up, dash over, pogo, and head on up. So you can see that'll work. That'll work for you pretty consistently. I do recommend playing around with it, trying to see what's working for you, but that's the idea. Now, you can also be coming from the Salubra bench. And if that's the case, it's a similar idea. We're going to have to go down to aggro the shade. You just go down, you hit it once, and then you come back over. Same idea. Slide on down, pogo, easy peasy. All right, this is the only required skip in the run, and it's kind of an important one. The fact that it's the shade skip means that if you're doing the optimal route, you cannot die in the next section, which is a fairly dangerous section. This is why I might recommend to a complete beginner that you grab the Salubra bench and you'll grab the King's Station Stag later as well. You will need to gather extra geo for that route, so that means that you're going to need to pick up the Mantis Village Journal and the Geo Rocks that I pointed out in Greenpath and Fungal. So those three things should cover you for the King's Station Stag. If you aren't doing that route and you'd rather do the optimal route, you don't get to bench in City. That means that you really can't die. You really need to make sure that you survive, because otherwise you'll come back here and need to do the shade skip again, and that will get rid of all your geo, which is problematic. So just want to shout that out. You want to make sure that you know how to do this skip. The skip is the only required skip in the run. And second of all, you want to make sure that if you aren't taking that safety of the King Station Stag, you're going to need to make sure that you are careful with your health in the next section. All right, so here we go. We're coming into the final section of the Myla % run, which is the City of Tears section. The first thing you want to do is just cross the blue lake, jump out of the water as frequently as you can, and hit dash as soon as you can. It's a very boring section. Really nothing to talk about here. All right, once you get through, again, this is a bit different than any %. We don't care about Dreamnail, so we're just leaving this room right over to the right. So you just want to keep going to the right, make sure this guy doesn't hit you, and just head on down through this elevator over here. We're heading down to the City of Tears for only one purpose, and that is to collect enough geo to buy the Lumafly Lantern. So we come over to here, and we're going to pick up 2 relics on our way down here. We're going to pick up this relic right here, which is called the any % journal. The way that you can do that, you just want to pogo those guys or get over them somehow and then fireball twice. That will kill all but the biggest one. If you get a single nail slash, the big one will die too. You pick up this journal, that's worth 200 geo. If you're doing the optimal route, this will be your first geo pickup, or your first journal pickup rather. And then you want to make sure that you kill this bottom row of enemies too, because we do need the geo. We're aiming for 750 geo before you go to Lem in the optimal route, and 550 geo before you go to Lem in the beginner's route. So we'll head on down here. You want to make a detour to King's Station regardless of which route you're doing. Now, if you are doing the optimal route, we are not going to be opening this stag. But if you're doing the beginner route, you need to make sure that you've collected enough extra geo in order to open this stag. At this point, you should have enough geo to open King Station stag in the beginner route. Again, if you're doing the optimal route, this is not something you should do, but I'm going to show this here just for those people who do want to take this beginner's route. You can open up this stag and feel free to call it if you want. That will help you a lot if you need to take this bench if you are a beginner, because it will take away the threat of dying and bricking your run, and it will also give you a full heal in this section. One important reason for that is we're about to go and collect a relic, which is up here. So let me show you how this works. I'll put it on a save state here, and we're going to jump up here. So the idea is you do a full jump, and then you're going to cling to this wall. And from that, you're going to do a wall jump. So you see what I'm doing here? You can look at my input display, full jump, hit this wall, and do a wall jump. This is really tricky, so it'll take a little bit of time getting used to. You can break this lamp if you want to see a little bit better. This is definitely something that took me a while to get used to when I first started running. Sorry, I don't want this. But you jump up here, and you're going to do a full jump there. Now, after that, you're going to be pogoing these spikes. It's very easy to get hit here. So again, having the ability to take that bench is something I really recommend if you're just getting started speedrunning. It doesn't lose too much time optimally, and it really gives you a lot of safety. So again, you're going to jump up here and start to pogo these spikes. That will allow you to get up here and pick up this relic. This is an important piece of the run, this relic right here, so you do need to pick it up. That's basically what you want to do. Jump up here, pogo it, make sure that you get up here, pick the relic up, and then you can head on down. So again, this bench will make your life a lot easier. You can only take it if you get those 3 extra geo pieces. You want the Mantis Village Journal, you want the Geo Rocks in Greenpath, and the Geo Rocks in Fungal. Those are the 3 things that you'll need in order to afford King Station stag so that you can do this. Moving on, regardless of what you've done, now you're coming up through here, and we're going to be heading for Gorgeous Husk. So you want to take the top left exit from King Station room, and then head on down and kill some of these enemies if you want, or just hit them out of your way if you don't want to. Either way is completely fine. And then we want to go into this room here. This is the room where Gorgeous Husk is. It's a lot of easy geo. So we come in here, shoot some fireballs, hit your nail a little bit, make sure you kill all these guys. We need all of their geo as well. And then there's a little secret hidden passage here. If you didn't find this in your casual, you are not alone. Jump up into here, and you'll find the Gorgeous Husk. I'm going to show you the optimal damage rotation on the Gorgeous Husk. It's a little bit harder when you don't have Shaman Stone, so I'll try to show you how that works. But basically, you're going to want to get Gorgeous Husk into a corner like this, and then you want to slash, up slash, right slash, and fireball. So just like that. You see what I'm doing here? You slash, up slash, right slash, up slash, right slash, and then shoot a fireball. And you need to make sure that you do it basically in the right sequence, in the right timing, because Gorgeous Husk will start to hop on her own as well, and it causes problems. You do this a few times, and Gorgeous Husk will die. If you're having trouble with that damage rotation, you can literally just keep Gorgeous Husk in a corner and just slash forever. That's also perfectly fine. If, again, you're not taking that safety of the King Station bench, more important than anything here is your health. So definitely be careful with Gorgeous Husk. Make sure you don't take too much damage, and collect all 420 of your geo. All right, so from there, we can go ahead and continue on here. Once we, again, leaving Gorgeous Husk, if you are doing the optimal route, you want at least 750 geo here. If you have taken the safety of King Station stag, you want 550 geo here. So those are your breakpoints. You see I have 566. That's good enough for the safety route and not good enough for the optimal route. So keep that in mind. If you're short, you can kill some of these husks here, which drop quite a bit of geo. I think close to 100 in the whole room. No, more like 50, but that's still good. And then you can kill these 2 husks, which guard this lever as well. So that will hopefully shore up any geo problems that you have. If you're still short, you'll have to kill some extra husks, basically. but just make sure that you try to have 750 geo here for the optimal route, 550 for the beginner route. All right, so you continue on through this area. You can skip this cutscene. And coming up is one of the last skips in the run. It is called Rafters Skip. And it is probably the most difficult skip in this run. At least one of the more difficult to get down. So I'll try to describe how it works for you. You want to move through this room and head on over toward the right. You need to make sure you have at least 2 hits of soul. Ideally, you'll have more. 1 cast is probably good, but again, health takes priority over everything, and if you need to not do this skip, that's fine. But we will take an intentional damage boost as part of this skip. So you'll head on over to here. Once you get past this guy, again, you're just going to want to run past all these guys. I'm just killing them because I need to describe how this skip is going to work. So the way that it works, we are going to be jumping onto this platform up here, jumping up immediately to aggro the Vengefly, then jumping, damage boosting, pogoing, fireballing, pogoing again, and then jumping off the wall. So that's a lot, I know. I'm going to show it to you, and then I'm going to try to break it down a little bit further. So we aggro, damage boost, pogo, fireball, pogo, and we were just a little bit low. But that was the idea there. You could see it kind of in action. Hold on. This guy is respawning. All right, so let's try to show you one more time. Aggro, damage boost, pogo, pogo. Yeah, you can see. I can't even describe it super well, but that's basically the trick. You damage boost, pogo, fireball, and pogo again. So, jump up, aggro, damage boost, pogo, fireball, pogo, and then you jump off that wall there. So this trick saves a lot of time. There's also this skip, which I'll be showing you again, but I want to show you this this quick skip for Rafters one more time. So we jump, aggro, jump, damage boost, pogo, pogo, and we get on up here. Okay, so again, this is a difficult thing. And also, I want to tell you, Vengeflies are frame rate dependent. So if you're running at 60 FPS instead of 250 FPS, this trick is going to have a different timing for you, and you're going to need to learn that. But this is the timing that works for me, and hopefully it will also work for you. But keep that in mind as you're learning this trick. Now, if it's too difficult for you, you decide not to go for it, no problem at all. You don't need to kill this Vengefly. Just come on over here and hit this lever and wait for the elevator. This loses a bit of time, but it doesn't require you to take any damage, and it's a lot safer. So, once you get up here, as I showed a little bit earlier, we're going to actually be using this flying sentry here to pogo on up. And the way that we're doing that is just wait for it to come on over, pogo it, and then we get right on up here. If you don't do that, no big deal. You can just come around through these 3 platforms. That just saves a tiny bit of time. Then we climb up here in the rafters to go get this relic, which is another Hallownest seal. This is the last relic that we're picking up in this run, but it's an important one. Then you drop on down and head on over to Lem, who should be right through here. So you pogo this guy and head on in here. All right, so if you have been following the optimal route, then at this point you should have 750 geo, and in your inventory you should have 1 Wanderer's Journal and 2 Hallownest seals. If you're following the beginner route, which gets King's Station Stag, you will instead have 550 geo and 2 of these Wanderer's Journals instead of just 1. Regardless, you're just going to be selling to Lem, and the number that you're looking for is 1850. You want to make sure that after you've sold everything to Lem, you have 1,850 geo. That will allow you to purchase the Lumifly Lantern and enter Crystal Peak. All right. Once you've sold to Lem, you are free to quit out. Now, you'll notice here that I have the King Station Stag. This is the beginner route. If you are quitting out here in the optimal route, you will end up at Crossroads Stag. Either way, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and stag back to Dirtmouth. So we're going to be picking up Lantern. So let's go do that. And we are very near the end of the run at this point. All we have to do now is pick up Crystal Dash and go and finish the run. So you come into Dirtmouth, you open the lever, and then come on over to Sly's hut. you can purchase the Lumafly Lantern here. And now if you are playing with the optimal route, you'll quit out here. Because I have King Station Stag, I need to go and do one extra trip. So I'm going to be leaving out of here, coming back into the Stag, and coming on down. This doesn't lose too much time again, it's just a little bit. So now we get we head on down to Crossroads Stag. Whichever way you got here, either by quitting out or by stagging, you want to make sure your bench is here. So if you did take the beginner's route, make sure you sit on this bench. To set it, we're going to head up now to Crystal Peak. So you come in through here. With Claw, you can jump up this way, but you don't need to. Just climb up this room however you like. You can make sure you work your way up here, and then we want to hit this lever because we're going to be going up through it a little bit later. Then you come into this room with our newfound lantern. We can open the entrance to Crystal Peak. You'll notice I did a quick trick there called the look down. I won't be describing that too much, but it's not too bad. Basically, you just look down with your character, and for some reason, it opens the gate faster. Then you just want to come into Crystal Peak, head on through these rooms over to the right, and basically just follow the path I took, dashing as often as you can. I won't worry about this. You can just jump up this wall and climb into here. There is a trick in this room, which is called Pogax. I highly, highly do not recommend it for beginners or for current patch players in general. It is very RNG and very painful if you fail it, so I won't be talking about that at all. Instead, we'll come up through the left and come on through here. You can either damage boost through this Glimback, or you can kill it. It takes 4 nail slashes and a fireball to kill. Either way, damage boosting is obviously a little bit faster, but if you kill it, you know, don't take the damage, so up to you. Then you want to come up here, go up this, and head into the next room. The next room is very cycle dependent, so I'm going to set a save state here and show it to you a couple of times. You want to be quick here. You want to dash, jump up this wall, dash here, pogo, jump up these walls, and get up to here. Now, once you're up here, you can either pogo that guy or try to get on the wall to dash more quickly, but either way, you're going to want to come up through here. There's a faster cycle you can get, which is called the God Cycle. I'm not going to be describing that here. If you want to learn that, you can look at high-level runs or other tutorials. As a beginner, just worry about getting up this room without taking damage. So let's show that one more time. Dash at the beginning, jump up this wall, then come on over here. This is one of the things that you're going to want to practice because this room is very, very consistent once you've practiced it, and it's a very easy way to take a lot of stupid damage. So that's basically the room for you. Sometimes you can get hit by the laser at the top of this room. That will happen. It just depends on the RNG of when the laser goes off, but if you don't, you're in good shape. Again, you just want to make sure that you're getting up this room in a reasonable amount of time. It's not the end of the world if you're going slightly slower than the optimal cycle. All right, let me set a save state. This next room is also cycle-based, and this one is a little bit tighter of a cycle, so I do want to describe that for you. So you're going to come into this room, jump up, and pogo this lamp, and then come on over here. So you saw how quick that cycle was. You're trying to beat that laser. Let me show you one more time. When we come into the room, we jump up, wall jump, pogo this lamp, and then come on over to the right. Then we want to, as quickly as we can, try to get in before that laser cycle. So jump up, wall jump, pogo this lamp, get in here, and beat this laser cycle just like that. This is very tight. So you notice that if you're a little bit slow here, you know, you take a little bit of extra time, you're not going to be making this laser cycle. If you're not making the laser cycle, that's okay. You can just wait. So let's say enter, and for some reason I waited a little bit too long. And then, oh, I didn't make the laser cycle. You can just wait for it to pass. That's okay. It's just a little bit slower, obviously. Now, you do also want to make sure that you have at least a little bit of extra health at the end of this segment. So I do recommend, you know, if you need to, oh, I missed it, just wait. It's okay. And you can actually go on over to the left if you'd prefer to avoid the lasers on the right. Hopefully you don't dash into the crystal miner or the crystal hunter just like that. All right, so one more time for you. You come up here, And when you make that cycle, you're in good shape. You just come right on up and don't need to take any extra damage. If you're low on health here, I do recommend killing this guy. You can stop and get some heals, and this will just make the split a little bit more consistent for you. When you're starting out, that's really not a lot of time loss. I do recommend it because it's easy to get hit toward the end of the split. All right, this next room is pretty simple. You're just going to be going up, dashing as frequently as you can, coming through this room. And then this next room optimally has a couple of inventory drops. Again, we're not going to worry too much about them. You're just coming through this room. You don't need to open that lever I just opened. And you're just coming down here. Inventory drop here if you can. This one is probably the most important inventory drop in the run. Again, not a big deal. You don't need to open that, so we just head on to the right. And then this room is the final room of Crystal Peak. There is a fast cycle here that I'm going to be showing for you, which I actually recommend learning even as a beginner. It takes one hit of intentional damage, but it makes the rest of the room really easy. So let me show as you go through here. And if you have extra soul, you can actually do a quick trick here where you dash off this platform, fireball, and dash again. You can do that if you like. You don't have to. But here's the damage boost. You damage on that laser, then dash, and then you can actually just go through the rest of the room just dashing. And it's super consistent, and you can reach the end of the room in no time at all. All right, so let's show you that one more time. So we can just dash on over to here, up onto these platforms. If you don't do the dash trick here, you're just coming up and dashing down. That's fine. Once you hit these, you want to get to this laser, damage boost and dash, and then you can just dash through the rest of the room like normal. This saves a bit of time and it makes it a lot more consistent. That trick that I did at the very end there is one that saves basically no time, but it's also not too bad to learn. It's called Underplat, and it's a nice little swag strat. You can learn it if you like. Very easy. I'll show it to you one more time. Damage boost, dash, dash. Then you just go through the rest of the room, dashing whenever you can. And then at the very end, you dash off this platform and then under the second platform. If you don't want to do underplat, you're scared of that, that's fine. You just want to wait a little bit and then go on to the top here. Totally fine. So this cycle is very consistent once you learn it. The damage boost is no big deal at all, and I do definitely recommend learning that damage boost cycle. If you don't do that, you're going to have to just stop before every pair of lasers, and it just takes forever, and it's honestly scarier. So learning the damage boost cycle is definitely something that I do recommend. Now, once you finish that, you want to drop down on here and dash on over to Crystal Heart, and this is the final ability that we're picking up. So once you've picked this up, you are free to quit out, so you don't need to worry about your health in this segment. So that is one benefit of this route. We can feel free to take that extra damage because at the end of the day, we are totally fine. We're just going to quit out. All right, we load back into Crossroads, and we are just about done with the run. So the point of this run, again, for those who don't remember, is to go say hi to our favorite miner. So we're going to head up this room. It can help to gather a little bit of soul here if you want to use a fireball to say hi, because sometimes fireballs are, you know, very friendly. So we head on up to the top of this room, and then we go up one more, right one, right again, and we're in the final room of the run. Your run is almost over. You simply come on over. All right, so that was Myla %. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this tutorial. I definitely recommend this category as a good beginner category. You'll learn a lot of the tricks that are going to be useful to you in the rest of Hollow Knight speedrunning. It's a short category. There's not too much going on. There's really not a lot of boss fighting in the run. And, you know, it's just it's a great way to get into Hollow Knight speedrunning. So definitely recommend it. You know, be sure to check out other speedruns if you liked this, but for some reason don't want to run Myla %. And, you know, I hope that this has been helpful for all of y'all.